Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. You know, I created this audio vlog how long ago? I don't even remember when. At least 3 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, and never posted it. I'm going to post it now because out of everything that happened in that time period, that's probably the most memorable thing that happened. And I'm going to go ahead and post it. And then I don't know what's going to come up next, but you'll find out as I find out and whatever. But in the meantime, here is this long-lost vlog from like 3 months ago, if not longer ago. Hi everyone, and welcome to this Monday vlog, I say on a Sunday. I'm doing this because in order to be prepared for Monday, I'm going to have to start it on Sunday. I had my Monday plans kind of change semi-abruptly. I found out on Thursday about a meeting that I have on Monday, a virtual meeting, but even a virtual meeting is something that I don't want. Even a virtual meeting is not something that I want to attend while trying to physically get somewhere else. I want to be, if not at home, at least in a place where I can sit for the duration of the meeting and pay attention to the meeting. So in order for that to happen, I can't be traveling to the place I need to be in during the time of the meeting, which is, as the plans are now, the transportation plans, that is, what would be happening. That's not going to work. So I'm going to have to call the door-to-door transit service, which I've been able to not use for quite a while. But at the end of the day, when I need them, I do have that option. I'm not crazy about that option, but I do have them. I'm going to have to use them this time because the way that I was going to get to my afternoon class, like I say, they're picking me up at noon, and it's too late to tell them that that's not going to work. They're not open on weekends at all, and on Monday morning, the only thing you can do is say, I need to cancel it. You can't call them Monday morning and say, hey, my plans have changed and I need you to pick me up like an hour earlier. No, that's not the way that service goes. That's not the way the door-to-door paratransit system goes either. See, this is what going somewhere as a blind person is like if you can't use fixed route bus. Spontaneity is pretty much a non-option. You have to pre-plan this stuff. The entities that are giving you rides require notice. Unless it's Uber or Lyft, and with them you have the random driver that not necessarily always reads their notes, or if they do read their notes, they might not understand them because they don't read or speak English well enough to understand them, or they just don't do them. So when you've got an Uber sitting in your driveway and they're just honking, or they're just sitting there expecting you to magically realize that they're out there, well, in order to magically realize that you're out there, you have to have sight, which I do not. So there's a layer of trust with Uber and Lyft that I don't always have, that I often don't have, in fact. So canceling my ride with my preferred service, that it's too late to tell them what I really need for this week, and getting an Uber or a Lyft is not what I choose to do. I choose to put up with the door-to-door transit, which operates in half-hour windows. Like, if I say I need to be there at, say, 11:45, which I probably will, they'll say, okay, we'll pick you up between 11 and 11:30. If not earlier, 10:30 to 11, 10:15 to 10:45. Yeah, that'll have me there way before 11:45, but that's just the nature of this service. They regularly get you there early. I suppose if I have to choose between early and late, I'd rather be there early, but, you know, with door-to-door transit, you next to never get there on time. You're either early or late. It's never right on time. But again, door-to-door paratransit requires notice. It's 9 something on Sunday morning, and I'm going to call them as soon as their reservation office opens at like 10 or after, to tell them what I need for tomorrow, which I have until, I'm going to say 4 p.m., technically 4:30. The reservation window for tomorrow closes at 5 p.m. tonight. That doesn't mean you call them at 5 p.m. tonight or reach somebody at 5 p.m. tonight and say, oh, by the way, I need something tomorrow. That means you call at least half an hour ahead of time so that it can hit the system in time. In this case, I'm going to call probably at 10 or 11 in the morning and have it in the system in plenty of time so that whatever my early ass window is, I'll get there in plenty of time to sit either in the student lounge or in some office someplace and go to this virtual meeting without having to mute out and talk to my driver and tell them what I'm doing here and make my way down to the student lounge and, okay, now half an hour into the meeting, we got started and then I couldn't really pay a whole lot of attention because I was trying to get in the car, and then I was being driven to where I was going and I was able to pay attention for the most part, but then I had to stop and get assistance going up to the door, tell them why I'm there, make my way down to the student lounge, sit down at the table. Okay, now I can dedicate my attention. Now I can give you my undivided attention for the rest of the meeting. No, that's not how this is going to go. That's why I'm going to even get there really early so I can be in the student lounge in time to show up for the meeting when it starts. Okay, I made my reservation 10:45 to 11:15. That's the half-hour window in which they're going to be picking me up. They could show up at 11:15. They could show up at 10:45. They could show up anywhere in between. And when I finally get into this vehicle, they could take me straight there, or they could have 2 or 3 other stops to go to pick up and drop off other people before I get to where I need to go. That's why I don't like this service a whole lot. But in a situation like this where I just didn't know what the day was going to look like in time to tell my more preferred service that I actually needed to be there at like noon, not 1 o'clock. I mean, that service could probably pick me up at 11:15 or 11:30 and have me there by 12, but I needed to know that before I found out so I could prearrange it. As it is, I'm going to use door-to-door transit to get there, these guys that I prefer to go back, and while I'm at class, I'm going to figure out with the teacher whether there's any kind of room in either one of our schedules to make this class fit better with my new work schedule, or whether I need to just do what I did this time all the time and just tell this preferred ride service that I need to be picked up in time to get there by noon, not 1. My new work schedule is I don't quite know what my job might be in this new department, but our weekly meetings are on Mondays at noon. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll be at the meeting. I like to go to meetings. I think especially virtual meetings are one of the easiest parts about these jobs. It's other parts that I'm not crazy about, which is why I'm still looking at different departments and trying to figure out what the perfect job is for me, so that the rest, I'm not saying I'm quitting them, but if I don't do as much for them, I'm still okay because I can do a lot for the other job. It's all at the same workplace, just different departments. At some point, maybe I'll be comfortable explaining in more detail what my jobs are, but for now, I'm just gonna say that. Good morning. It is officially Monday now. I slept late because I could and I needed the sleep, and Now it's, 40 minutes before I have to leave? And it hits me. I didn't do the other thing I have to do.
To cancel a ride for today, or to find out when your ride will arrive, press 5. For this rural link,
Hi, my plans changed for today, and I still need the return ride going home, but I need to be there earlier than you guys can get me there. I need you guys to cancel the ride into. It's almost 10:42, and my ride's coming within the next 15 minutes. So, I'm guessing I'll be there at, if not 11:30, 11:15. But, like I said, if it's either that or try to catch a cab, rather try to connect with a cab. I don't expect the cab to, like, take off without me, but try to connect with them. This cab company, if I remember correctly, is, I don't remember which cab company we were working with. If it's the one I think it is, they're pretty good, or at least they were back when I used to take cabs, but trying to connect with a cab, trying to be situated where I was going when I get there, all in the middle of a meeting. I mean, this was still the better alternative, so. And again, there's nothing wrong with getting there early. It's just not my favorite way of getting places, but again, it's how today worked out, so as easy as it is to complain, at the end of the day, I am thankful that I have this as an option. Well, it's fairly nice out here, but still not quite nice enough for me to be willing to sit outside and wait for my ride to get here. I admit I didn't get the text saying it's arrived, but, well, on the other hand, when you sit down on a bench that's been sitting out in the sun, that makes it a little bit nicer, but it's in the 50s. It's nice to sit down on a nice warm bench where either someone's been sitting right before you or the sun's been shining on it. But how long am I going to sit out here waiting? Well, if that's the backup beeper of my vehicle that I hear out in the distance, I might wait it out here after all. Probably will wait it out here because I think I hear it pulling up. Of course, that just as easily could be something else, but if it's them, they'll call out to me and you will not hear it because I don't publish other people's voices as much as possible on my YouTube videos, but let me stop this and find out what this is. It was my ride. And this is another thing about YouTube that's not necessarily ideal. If I'm trying to vlog a ride, to whatever extent I vlog a ride, we're in the vehicle right now. Listen to this. It's not really ideal. So, and even though a Braille Sense is not as big as a laptop, it's still a little bit bigger than, you know, it was a nice idea. I tried it for a little while. It's not gonna work. I have ordered those USB stabilizers. With any luck, they work. well, it's going to have nothing to do with luck. It's going to be, this is what I've needed all this time, and it was only now that I finally, got serious about getting them. Hopefully they will work, and I will be able to start using the Olympus again. And the Zoom recorder, trying that, buying that and trying that is still in the back of my mind, and I still plan to do it, but there are some other things that I need to be able to do first. Getting the bed and getting there's a little technology update that needs to happen, like this. I've got another phone in addition to my main cell phone, and that is just out of date. It's not even compatible with the, if we do anything with it, it has to be, I need a new phone for that line. And I guess since there was a little snafu when I moved and I had to recreate my accounts, because that happened so recently, I'm not eligible to upgrade my phones for free. So my first financial goal is to be able to afford a bed. My next financial goal is to be able to afford a new phone for that. And that all, as far as I'm concerned, needs to happen before, well, it doesn't need to. I choose to make that happen before. I mean, I needed a new bed 5 years ago and just never did anything about it. I mean, I've been in the state that I live in, the city that I live in, for 20 years. It'll be 20 years in August. And I've spent all this time on a bed that was too small. It wasn't too small 20 years ago necessarily, but it sure is now. That needed to happen a long time ago. It's gonna happen in the near future. I'm almost there. I'm only a couple hundred away. So the bottom line is, I hope with the stabilizers, the Olympus will continue to work as a vlogging camera, because getting a zoom is not the first thing on the priority list, and it won't be for maybe a good while. See, now this, on the other hand, is why it's a good idea to tell door-to-door transit you need to be there 15, maybe even 30 minutes before you really need to be there, to make time for stuff like this. I'm not alone right now, so I'm not comfortable going into details, but stuff happened on the way over here that took time to work through, and I was able to handle it a lot better when I looked at the clock and it was 11:20, and I was like, well, I don't really need to be there and seated and ready to do what I need to do until noon, so we can take time to deal with this nonsense, and and I'll be fine. I didn't call it nonsense, but that's kind of the situation. I wouldn't call it nonsense. I would call it a person doing the best they could, making a mistake, and it costing us 15-20 minutes. Maybe even half an hour. But if we had been cut much closer, I'd be getting worried, because, and this poor other person probably was getting worried. I mean, they took it really well, but maybe they just take things better than I do, but this is why I set things up to get there early, so that if stuff like that happens, I'm still where I need to be on time. I got here with about 17 minutes to spare. I would have gotten there with probably half an hour to spare, only what happened. I'll tell you more about it when I'm home. And we lost time. Okay, I'm home. So gutsier vloggers probably would have recorded the event and just edited that clip in like all the others, and that would have been their vlog. And or they would have recorded them recounting it to someone else and put that whole thing in and like included that. So you would have seen it as it was happening. Do I like those kind of vlogs? Sure. Do I have it in me to create those kind of vlogs? No. I'm afraid I'd be that vlogger who would get in trouble for having someone else's voice on my video. So I'm gonna put those parts where I was talking on here and then come back and like tell the story to you, because me putting it up like I'm comfortable putting it up might not make it clear what happened. I mean, it may well, but it also might not. And I'm just not going to put the event as it happened up there as a part of my vlog. That just isn't going to happen. So here it is as you'll be able to hear it, and my recounting it as you'll be able to hear it. And then I'll come back and like clear up anything that might not have been so clear. Okay, are we on southwest or southeast? Siri just told me where am I?
You're at 1200 Southwest Washington Street.
We're on the whole wrong freaking side of the city. We're on west and say east. Well, what time is your class or your appointment or whatever? You might want to give them a call and let them know that, because it's right now it's, what time, yeah, what time are you supposed to be there? It's up to you. If I were you, I'd call them and let them know what's going on. But, he's walking around he got out of the vehicle, walked around, he came back, he's like, I just don't see it. I'm like, okay, hang on a second. Siri, where am I? She goes, you're on, I don't know, 1205 or something, Southwest Washington. We're like, Southwest? Okay, why are we in Southwest? We belong in Southeast? As you might have figured out by now, what went down was after I turned my vlogging camera off, after saying, this is why my plan for evolving my recording is what it is. We rode around for a little while, and then the driver started asking questions that I didn't know how to answer. Fortunately, before I had to say, I don't know, the other person, who I didn't realize there was someone else in the vehicle, but the other person said, well, here's what I know about this area. And nothing that the other person was saying was holding water with regard to what the driver was seeing. He got out of the vehicle and walked around, and he came back and he's like, I just don't see what you're talking about. And I finally said, all right, hang on a second. Siri, where am I? And she said, you're on, she gave some address on Southwest Washington. And we're like, okay, wait a minute. Why are we not on Southeast? The address is on Southeast. You need to cross the river. Get us back to Southeast. And then hopefully things will start to make sense. And they did. Fortunately, by the time we got to where we were going, like I said, I still had 17 minutes before I had to be ready for my meeting, which went pretty well, but really what we're ultimately going to do is I am going to be at the school that I take my class at an hour earlier than I originally told them, so I needed to change my rides. And I'm going to go to the meeting, have a little break, and then come to the class a little bit later. But also, my teacher seems to think that there's several conference rooms that they have to spare. I need one of them. That meeting went okay as I came to it from the student lounge of the school, but that's really not an ideal place to... There was background noise that I had to mute out and like really focus on what was being said, to pretend like that background noise wasn't there. The person who was making the background noise had every right to be there. It was the student lounge. That's where it's okay to just do what you want to do. But if I was attending a virtual work meeting, that was not the place for me to do it at. So the teacher's gonna work on getting me a room for the rest of the term so that I can, during that time that meeting happens, be in a private place to go to the meeting like I need to, and then go to class. But yeah, Siri totally saved the day this morning. I was like, where are we? And she's like, this is where you are. And I'm like, okay, the reason why nothing's making sense right now is because we're on the wrong damn side of the river.
Thank you for calling. Please wait for the next available agent. You are the next caller in line. You may press the star key at any time to leave a voicemail.
Hi, I need to, I guess, cancel what I have on Mondays and reinstate them with different times. My schedule has changed and I need to be there slightly earlier and be picked up slightly later than what I currently have, so we need to change that. So it's not every ride I ever have, it's just on Mondays. It needs to be an 11:45 drop-off and a 3:15 return. Considering that it's close to 8 o'clock in the evening, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for watching this vlog, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.